Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy CartoonTaj. Welcome back to the channel, man. And man, I hope you guys and gals having a lovely day out there. And man, we gotta, have that reaction video like we always do. You guys and gals, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. And today, man, my one of my favorite YouTubers in general, man, one of my favorite basketball minds, man. As a fan, you know what I mean? JxmyHighroller. I'm gonna stop the glaze now, but. JxmyHighroller, man, I had a link to his video down below in his channel, but he got another great video, and he's gonna talk about when you grow too tall to play basketball. So we gonna find out who this guy is. Of you all know Wemby, but Wemby's killing it right now. And he grew some more inches, 7'5" pause. So now we're gonna see who he's talking about now.
Is Robert Wadlow, and he was the tallest man in recorded history, standing at a whopping 8 feet 11 inches tall. A man so large he looked like two people stacked on.
So he's 8 inches, he 8 foot 11 inches tall. The man is 9 foot. Oh man, he don't have. You talk about Wemby, man. You can post Wemby up, man. You just lob the ball to him, and that's it. Easy work all day. Pause.
Top of each other in a trench coat. But even then, you'd still have to give them a pair of stilts to stack up to Robert. When he entered middle school, but even then, you'd still have to give them a pair.
He had to really bend the entrance doorway is already super high. He had to bend down to get through it. But look at him, man. Look at him. Look at this. Look at the ladies he got with him. That's crazy. When was this, in the early 1900s? I'm assuming 1800s. Man.
Stilts to stack up to Robert. When he entered middle school, he was already a 7-footer, and by the time he graduated high school, the kid was a staggering 8 feet 4 inches tall. And just as odd as his unbelievable height was the fact that he just wouldn't stop growing, even well into adulthood. Robert's height and daily life is incredibly fascinating in and of itself, but being a basketball fan, the only thing that I can think about when I see film of this gentle giant peering out 3 feet over a sea of people flocking to see him, this man would have been one hell of a ball player. Standing just 1 foot shorter than the rim itself, give the kid a pair of sneakers, plant him underneath the rim, and watch as the defense stands by, helplessly waiting.
Well, the thing about that, Jimmy, I don't think so, because, man, he's too tall. He's gonna be too awkward to really get the ball, and he really susceptible to injury. So in hindsight, yeah, because he's about 9 foot tall, but nah, I don't see it because of the injuries, man.
Witnessing the dominance of a man too big to do absolutely anything about. If Robert played basketball, and if you could just get him within reaching distance of the hoop, I fail to see any way that you could prevent him from just dropping the ball in the hoop every single time. Which begs the question.
Look at that. You just see him miss some easy shots by the basket. Look. Oh, man. Oh, man. What?
Why don't teams do this? Why are teams around the NBA not scouting the tallest people on the planet, slapping a uniform on them, and planting them under the hoop for the easiest buckets you've ever seen in your life? Well, because teams have tried this. Actually, they've tried it a lot. And it turns out you can actually be too tall to play basketball. Today's video is sponsored by SeatGeek. With the NBA season just a couple weeks away, check out SeatGeek to get downloads on tickets only on SeatGeek. Can you be too tall to play basketball? Well, the NBA, as well as every other league around the world, has no actual limit to how tall a player can be. The tallest player in NBA history is a record tied between Manute Bol and George Mirasan, both 7 foot 7 inch giants and taller than any player currently in the league. But they weren't nearly the tallest people on Earth. In fact, they weren't even the tallest basketball players in history. There's 7'8" Yasutaka Okayama, drafted into the NBA in 1981 but never played a game in the league. 7'9" Sun Ming, 7'9" Olivier Roux, 7'11" Abidun Adegoke. There are taller people and taller players out there. So in a sport where size grants the ultimate advantage, why does there seem to be a limit to how tall players can be in the NBA? If taller players exist, why are they of no use to the best league in the world? To answer this question, we first need to understand just how big a human being can get, and the tipping point where too much size does more harm than good.
Well, you see, he already limping, and the guy gotta be in his early 30s or something, man, with a cane. So the human body not meant to be that tall, all that mass on them bones, man. And it's the pituitary gland, you know. That's the technical term. That's the medical terminology, the biology. Yeah, let's get back to the video.
At the moment, the tallest player in the NBA is Victor Wembanyama, who was officially measured at 7'3" coming into the NBA a couple years ago, but was recently changed to an official height of 7'4". But even his new listed height seems to be an underestimation. In every photo, compared to other players from around the league and their listed heights, fans have speculated that Wemby is clearly taller than they are listing him. For example, here is 6'11" Tim Duncan. Here's 60-year-old 7'1" David Robinson. Might be a little bit of shrinkage going on there, but still a 7-footer. Here's 6'6" Stephon Castle, and here's Victor Wembanyama. Here's Victor Wembanyama. After crunching some numbers, it's estimated that Wemby is closer to 7'6" or even 7'7", and according to the Spurs team staff, he's still growing. Now, if Wemby is truly 7 feet 6 inches tall, that would make him the 34th tallest human being on the planet. So,
what the craziest thing is with Wemby, he's so nimble. He got handles. He can get to the basket. Like, if he's still growing, man, then by next season he's 7'7" or 7'6". I hope he stays healthy though, cause man, I hope he stays healthy in his career. I really do. Cause that be that tall, hooping like that is dangerous too, because of all that weight. Even though he's tall, he's still gonna jump in the air sometimes. Even though he have to, you know. It's a lot, man. You got guys diving for loose balls. They might miss and hit you. Pause. Missing like collide into your legs because he's so tall. So I just hope he's good.
Where are the other 33 guys that are taller than him, and why are they not in the NBA? Well, because they are simply too tall. 8'3", 8'1", 8'1", 7'11", 8'1", 7'11". All of these men have a few things in common. They're all incredibly tall, obviously. None of them play sports, and they all suffer from genetic disorders that made them as tall as they are. No human has ever naturally grown to this size. Instead, the supersized stature of these individuals is due to a rare disorder called gigantism, a condition where the body produces excessive growth hormone, leading to abnormal and excessive height. But the result of this condition is not just extreme size, but a laundry list of medical issues that almost always accompany it. Spinal pain, joint pain, sleep apnea, carpal tunnel, cardiovascular and respiratory issues, insulin resistance, and even neurological conditions. In the cases of these rare individuals, they become so big that their body has trouble even functioning and completing normal everyday tasks, let alone pursuing a career in athletics. Although there is one exception. Sort of. 8'1" Iranian volleyball player Martiza Merzad, who has had a decorated career on the world stage and is currently the tallest athlete on the planet, which would make him the exception to the rule if he didn't compete sitting down. The results of an accident that he had when he was a teenager that stopped the growth of one of his legs while the other leg kept growing, a disability that indirectly stemmed from his incessant growth. There aren't many people around the world who are tall enough to be an actual.
I really didn't know that they have volleyball sitting down. I didn't know that. I know in the Special Olympics are the disabled, people they have in a wheelchair and stuff. I didn't know you can physically just sit down on the floor and play volleyball. Wow, I mean, you learn something new every day.
Cheat code in sports, and in the extremely rare cases that they are, sports are simply out of the question. Although there isn't a limit to how tall you can be to play basketball, there does seem to be a theoretical limit to how tall a person can be before they have a hard time just functioning. And this limit seems to be about 7'8". Beyond this, there are just a handful of human beings on record to live relatively normal lives without dealing with severe debilitations as a result of their immense size. The human body just isn't meant to be bigger than this. In fact, every single instance of a person growing taller than 7'9" was a result of a genetic disorder. The tallest man in recorded history whose height didn't stem from any pathological condition or excessive growth hormone production is actually, believe it or not, playing basketball right now. Standing at 7 feet 9 inches tall, 19-year-old Olivier Roux is pushing the boundaries of not just how tall a basketball player can be, but how tall a human being can get while still maintaining their mobility, dexterity, and health. Even crazier, the kid is still growing and still pursuing a career in the NBA. But he would be the first person to cross this hypothetical size limit and
Yeah, he looks nimble, he looks athletic, he looks like Wemby, but he's 7'9". I mean, wow, okay.
make it to the league. Because as much as height plays possibly the biggest role in the game of basketball, too much of it can end up being a curse. Back in 2007, in a game that was openly advertised as a publicity stunt, the Maryland Nighthawks of the ABA had the bright idea to start the game with a 5-man lineup that had an average height of 7'3". How did they possibly manage to do this? By starting the second tallest basketball player ever at 7'9" as their center, the tallest NBA player ever at 7'7" as their power forward, 2 7-footers as their small forward and shooting guard, and running a 6'8" point guard. 432 inches of basketball gimmick. And it took all of this to narrowly win the game thanks to a half-court buzzer beater.
And that is that lineup. Of course, it's gonna be hard to score in the paint against those guys, but if you run, you can run them out the gym because that's the slowest lineup in history. I mean, for real, that's gonna be the slowest lineup ever. So you either gonna get easy, fast break points.
Yes, everything you just heard actually happened. Of course, this lineup was never seen again, and the big ball strategy was for nothing more than to merely grab some attention. The Nighthawks knew all along going overboard on the size was never a real viable strategy. It didn't grant them an edge over their opponent, and the idea of just feeding their big men easy buckets under the hoop was as far-fetched in reality as it was in theory. But the Nighthawks aren't the only team to give the big ball strategy a shot. In 1999, during the last game of the season, the Dallas Mavericks decided to start the game with a 5-man lineup that consisted of 3 7-footers, one of them being the tallest player in the NBA. 414 inches of lineup and an average height of 6'11", which goes down
414 inches. Pause. JxmyHighroller, pause.
As the biggest starting 5 in NBA history. They ended up losing the game by double digits, their experiment was a dud, and this lineup was never seen again. In 2020, the Denver Nuggets tried a big ball lineup of their own in a scrimmage against the Washington Wizards, a starting 5 that had an average height of nearly 6'11", with a 7-footer running the point and a 7'3" giant at small forward.
That is one of the slowest lineups in history. You got Yoke running the point. Man, come on, man. That's the slowest lineup ever.
Why exactly did they do this, you might ask? Well, we're not really sure. It made no sense and was nothing more than a gimmick for a meaningless game. Ironically, the Nuggets somehow lost the tip-off and their experiment lasted only 6 minutes. The result of which was a measly 10 points, big guys living out their lifelong dream of playing on the perimeter, and a tied game against a Wizards team missing 3 of their best players. This lineup wasn't much of a success and was never seen again. Because turns out, having a team exclusively full of giants is not as great of an idea as it sounds. With how big some NBA players are, it is a miracle that they can shuffle their feet, react quickly, and maneuver around the court with the best athletes in the world at all.
Listen, I know we just seen Rudy Gobert dribbling. That is he. Come on, man. That's an anomaly. He cannot. He got the worst hands in the league. He can't dribble.
Even if they may struggle in the process. It gets to a point where excess height tends to introduce bigger trade-offs than benefits. More mass to move, longer levers to control, smaller margins for balance and touch. The rare talents who defy that don't just add inches, they carry those inches. Studies have shown that the negative effects of excess height, joint degeneration, spinal issues, cardiovascular strain, can begin to take effect in individuals just 6'8" or taller. Every inch above that, and the drawbacks become more and more pronounced. By 7'3", health issues aren't just expected, they are virtually inevitable. There has been only 28 players who were 7'3" or taller in NBA history. 28 out of over 5,000 players who have ever touched an NBA court. Out of these 28, 11 of them didn't even play a full season worth of games. Players that were short-term projects that just didn't pan out. And out of the 17 that did, 8 of them were forced to retire due to injury or a combination of multiple injuries, which leaves 9. 9 players in the history of the NBA who were mobile and skilled enough to play against the best players in the world while remaining healthy enough to stay on the court. Why don't NBA teams just get the largest human beings on the planet and take advantage of their size? Well, they do. It's just extremely, incredibly rare to find an individual who meets the requirements. In other words, players like Manute Bol, George Mirasan, Yao Ming, Victor Wembanyama are not just pushing the limits of how tall you can be to play basketball, they are at the boundary of how tall a person can be without medical intervention. The fact that these guys were able to move around without pain and live normal lives at all is astonishing. Add in a strict physical regimen, getting up and down a basketball court for an entire career, and keeping up with some of the best athletes in the world. And these guys are physical anomalies who have defied biomechanical expectations. How tall can a basketball player possibly be? Well, look around courts all over the world, and you'll get your answer. Online, there is a list of the tallest people in the world. Now, this list doesn't include every single extremely tall person, but it does include everyone over 7'3" that has been officially measured and verified. And among all of these individuals, 87 of them are alive today. 87 human beings across the entire planet who are officially at least 7 feet 3 inches tall. Of these 87 people, 49 of them have played or are currently playing professional basketball. That is 57%, meaning that the majority of giants alive today were at one point or are currently pro basketball players. Even crazier, 27 of them played or are currently playing in the NBA. But here's where it gets really interesting. Of these 49 pro basketball players, none of them were taller than 7'9", and 45 of them, the vast majority, were 7 feet 7 inches or shorter. Again, this seems to be the absolute limit of how tall a basketball player can truly be. Because if we reduce this list to the people who are between 7'3" and 7'7", then 71% of them have played professional basketball at some point in their life. 71%, and 43% have played in the NBA. So if you aren't really tall, your chances of becoming a pro basketball player are pretty slim. And if you're too tall, your chances aren't much better. But if you're in this Goldilocks zone, where you have an abundance of size without being debilitating, you are essentially a shoo-in as a pro basketball player. Can a person be too tall to play basketball? Well, technically, no. But as of right now, and from everything that we've seen, there appears to be a practical limit at about 7 feet 8 inches tall. So, yeah. In theory, you could just plant a mega giant near the rim, feed him the ball, and give your team the most unstoppable advantage the sport has to offer. You just have to go out and find a mega giant good enough to compete and healthy enough to not completely fall apart on the court. Good luck with that.
Oh man, that was another great video by JxmyHighroller. I have the link to this video in the description down below for you guys and gals can check it out. After you watch it with me, of course, and if you last this long in the video, you have. And oh man, yeah, I mean, we all had dreams of being in the NBA. I know I did, even as a cartoon character. But hey, pan out that I'm a YouTuber now, and and my guy that created me, he animates me. So that was my path. Maybe he can animate me to a basketball player. I mean, I'm gonna talk to him about that. But yeah, man, I just think when you're super tall, the body not meant to be that tall. So you're gonna have a lot of inevitable health problems that's gonna come with you eventually. So you know, like the guys that's hooping today, the white kid, the young kid, man, he's 7'9" hooping, and he's still growing, and he looks like Wemby, man. He's nimble, he's moving, he got good mobility, man. Like that's rare, and I think with that they gotta be real, they gotta be slim like Wemby. Wemby packed on a little muscle, but I think that should be his limit though. I don't think he should get anything bigger because of his size. Pause. Because I think the more you put at that size, that's bad on your cardiovascular health. So I think they say Wemby do yoga. I think Wemby at the frame he is now, again, that's a little bit more muscle to get a little more stronger in the paint, and that's all you need, man. Because I just think if he get too big, it'd be too much on his heart, too much on his health, especially his mobility, his joints. So he actually in a happy medium, man, and they say he's growing, and hopefully you don't want him to grow anymore because it's get worse from a health standpoint. So I just, hopefully Wemby stays healthy, man. I'm a fan. I want him to dominate the league just like 2K when you make a 7'4", 7'5" demigod. You know what I mean? So that being said, you guys like, comment, subscribe. I have my Instagram down below if you want any artwork. Want me to draw any of you and your family? If you guys want to see my animation dance on TikTok, link down below. If you guys want to play me any games, I'm on Twitch, trying to build my Twitch community up. Link down below as well. If you guys want any merch to look fresh for the fall, I'm link down below as well. And Instagram, I dropped some new artwork. Y'all make sure to check it out. This is it right here. Little old school for the old heads. You know what I mean? So I have that up there too, the different world. So bye, peace.